Azure Site Recovery is a BCDR strategy that replicates workloads running on physical and virtual machines, VMs, from a primary site to a secondary location. When an outage occurs at your primary site, you fail over to a secondary location and access apps from there. After the primary location is running again, you can fail back to it. In this video, we will see Azure VM replication and failover process. To enable site recovery for an Azure VM, go to Recovery Service Vault. Note that Vault can be in any region, but not the source region where your VM, which you are going to replicate, is. Target region is recommended for RSV. Go to Site Recovery, then click on Enable Replication under Azure VM option. Select the subscription, region, RG where your VM is, choose if VM has Classic or ARM model and if you want to enable interzonal replication within same region. On next page, you will get VM list as per specified settings in first page for which replication has not been enabled. Choose the required VM and click on Next. Specify the target subscription, region, RG, VNet. You can customize the storage and availability options as well if required. To save compute cost ASR replicates data to manage disk on target but creates VM using that disk only when you failover. However, in some scenarios at the time of failover it might happen that due to resource crunch your VM fails to get provisioned in specified target region. To avoid this, you can reserve capacity in advance if required for critical VMs. On next page, select the default replication policy or create new one as per your requirement. Specifies how long site recovery keeps recovery points and how often site recovery takes an app consistent snapshot. Site recovery creates crash consistent recovery points every 5 minutes by default and app consistent snapshots if you specify a frequency for them. Site recovery extension would get installed on the VM. Select if you want to update it manually or automatically using automation account to keep it up to date to new released versions. Review and enable replication. You can see that a cache storage account and automation account is getting created as per settings that we have specified. Mobility agent gets installed on the VM and then replication begins. You can track progress from Site Recovery Jobs page in Vault. As part of replication, disk writes are immediately transferred to the cache storage account in the source location. Site Recovery processes the data in the cache and sends it to the target replica managed disks. In our lab environment, we do not have any network restrictions in place. However, in ideal scenario, ensure that you have required outbound connectivity from the VM. You can check MS Docs for that purpose. Also, verify support matrix first before initiating replication. We can see that VM is registered with Site Recovery Service and initial sync is in progress. Once initial replication completes, you will get your first recovery point, following which only delta changes will be synced to target. From replicated items, we can check the status of replication for the VM and also see the infrastructure diagram, which shows detail of resources that are being used. Once IR completes, you can see the compute and network details provided and edit them before initiating failover if required. From disks, you can see target replica disk name, which will have ASR replica suffix by default. Now that we have replication in healthy state and recovery points created, let us try to test failover our VM to target location. It is recommended to perform test failover before initiating actual failover in isolated environment. Your existing replication won't be interrupted, but you will get a test VM created in target with this option. You can even test actual failover process post that if required. You should perform tests on regular intervals as per your business needs to ensure that everything is working as expected and be ready for disaster scenarios. Select the recovery point that you want to use for test failover and target VNet. We can see a new disk created and attached to newly created target VM. Once you are done with testing, you can clean the test failover in one click from Replicated Items page. If you perform failover instead of test failover, your source machine will be stopped and you will get a VM in target region. Your production would be running on target machine, so once you are done with testing or an actual disaster scenario, once primary region is up again, you can sync the changes back to source using reprotect option and then failover in reverse direction. You can even change the recovery point that you have chosen to create target VM until and unless you haven't committed it. Resynchronize option gets highlighted only when replication goes out of sync due to some issue. You can click on it to start IR again. If for some reason you want to disable replication, you can do that from same page. Provide the reason and disable it.